Welcome back to Brashenomics. So on a day that it's windy and it's blustery and it's May, I don't get it. You know, we were just talking at the break about my Mexican vacation, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get back there now. Tyler McKenzie joins us for the first time, and Tyler is an experienced managing broker of the Windermere real estate with over 10 years in the industry, who holds several designations, including a certified negotiation expert and accredited buyer's representative. Well, first of all, hey, Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and you've been to Playa del Carmen down there in Mexico, you said.
I have been to Playa del Carmen. It's a great place. Really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I haven't stopped talking about it since I've been back, and looking outside, it makes me continue to want to. You know, it's hot down in Playa del Carmen. It's hot in Mexico, and so is the real estate market here in Seattle.
So is the hot real estate market in Seattle, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about buyers, because it's hot for buyers, it's hot for sellers, but you know, it's easy to sell a house in a hot market. In this case, it's a little harder to buy one.
Well, you know, it's easy to sell a house in a hot market if you know how to position the house to be sold right and sold quickly and sold well. So, you know, I think gone are the days when you can simply stick a sign in the front yard and expect people to, you know, bang down the door. They're there, but
now you have to post it on Craigslist.
Got to. I'm not commenting on that.
Okay.
So with regards to buyers, yes, it's a hot market. You know, I'd say in the last 4 months, perhaps the last 5 months, the light went on. Somebody decided to actually start believing the press that the market was turning, and all of a sudden we've got half the inventory, twice the buyers, and we're looking at 2004 prices with interest rates we've never seen before. And it's nuts. Case in point, a broker in my office today was writing an offer on a property in Beacon Hill, 10 offers in the 250-ish range. Just nuts. You know, you got to feel sorry for the 9 people who aren't going to prevail in that situation.
So when you start, I mean, 10 offers, it's a lot. It sounds very 2007-esque, 2006-esque.
2004, 5, 6,
yeah,
bit of 7. Not so much 8.
And, you know, we talked before on this show just about there's just not a lot of houses out there is one of the big problems. So when a good one comes up, hey, I mean, all the fish are biting at that one hook.
Absolutely. The problem is that we've had all of those buyers who got into the market in the middle of the last decade who were availing of the zero interest or low interest. Oh, I'm sorry, not low
Zero
interest.
down.
Zero down, low down product that was available. Those people are still upside down or near to being upside down. They haven't seen the appreciation come back in the market. I am a short sale specialist in addition to my other business, and so I spend a lot of time working with short sale sellers, and those people, rightly so, are just not coming back into the market. So what we have are the sellers who do have some equity stepping back in. We've got twice the buyers that we had this time last year. We've got half the inventory that we did this time last year. We're down to 2005 inventory levels. As I said before, our prices are 2004, 2005 prices. Interest rates put a new buyer in today's market in a position that is 30% better than if they were trying to buy a house in 2004 for the same price. So we've got people who never would have been able to get into the market in the $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 range who now have the opportunity to take advantage of it. So there's a heck of a lot of competition. You
know, there's a lot going on, and so you talk about competition, and it seems that if you were to take, I guess, like the stool of buying a house, right? I mean, financing is very good. It's possible to get. People freak out. They think it's impossible. It takes some extra paperwork. It's possible to get. Rates are extremely low. If you think about the other stool, I mean, really, the other leg of the stool, it's prices. So you have low prices and low interest rates, and now you have a lot of buyers coming in to essentially, you know, sit on that stool, right, to buy these houses. How do you make a buyer competitive then as they're competing? I mean, it's like sharks with blood in the water on each good house. How do you make your shark get the bait?
Well, you know, sharks.
I don't know. It could be
wolves. We'll play a little more softly than that. I mean, it can get pretty competitive, but probably I'd say rule number 1 is preparation. First, as a broker, preparing my clients to understand the market that they're actually getting into. You know, frankly, depending on the particular neighborhood we're talking about, if it's Green Lake, where my office is, oftentimes I'll counsel a client to, you know, say, listen, you got to be prepared to pay 10% more than you think you want to pay, because that's what's happening. House comes out on the market for $550, it'll sell for $6, it'll sell for $610, and if you're not prepared to leverage your financial situation to that extent, then you should be setting a lower threshold for what you're looking at. So start looking at $500,000 houses and recalibrate. The notion that there is a deal in the house is gone. I want to be very blunt about that. The deal is in the marketplace. The deal is in the price. The deal is in the interest rate. It is no longer in finding the jewel in the rough, because there are way too many people out there looking for that. And, if you're buying a short sale or you're buying a foreclosure, you're going to get priced up to retail pricing in all probability. Or if you aren't priced up to retail pricing, by the time you rehab the property, you will have put that money into it to make it a retail priced home as well. So the first thing I tell my clients is let go of the notion that we're going to find the deal. The deals don't exist. The market is the deal. Now, how do we prevail in the market? Preparation, things that I counsel my clients to do. Write a letter to the seller. I can tell you that in the last month I prevailed in 2 multiple offer situations where my clients have succeeded with a lower offer in competition because they wrote a letter to the seller and because of the preparation that I, as their broker, put in front of the seller as well. So it doesn't necessarily...
What do you include in the letter?
From the buyer to the seller?
Yeah, and what's included in a good letter?
It's for them to write, not for me to
Well, you got to do a little coaching.
Yeah, I give them a sample.
I give them a sample. Fill in the blanks with your name. This is exactly what we want to say.
No, absolutely not. I want my clients to write from their heart. I mean, if they're really responding to a house and they really want the house, then tell the seller that they really want the house. And here's why. Certainly I don't want to get involved in anything that could potentially be construed as fair housing violation. We always have to be careful of that. But I want for them to write from the heart and really put their best foot forward. And frankly, 9 times out of 10, the other brokers who we're competing against are not giving their clients the same counsel. And simply that letter can make the difference.
How about pictures?
I haven't done that.
No?
Not in general.
I remember back in the day, maybe 5-6 years ago, and there was an agent who said, have your kids draw a picture of them and the happy family in the house. And
the problem with that is then all of a sudden the seller turns around and said, well, I sold this to this party because they were a lovely family. And then you've excluded other potential buyers from the process, and now you've got a lawsuit on your hands. So you have to be really, really careful about exposing people to the possibility of a fair housing violation.
Well, that is you would know more about that than I'm sure.
So no,
they would probably put little 6-year-old Susie in jail for drawing the dog and doing the whole thing. Who knows? Susie could be in big trouble. You talk about the deals kind of being gone, which we've seen too on our end. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about maybe, how the buyers, they'll lose if they're not competitive. I mean, beyond writing a letter, beyond pricing, mm-hmm. I mean, this becomes putting them in a position where it's getting the house or not. I mean, right. It is a bit of a competition here.
There is one question I ask my clients when I interview, and I interview all of my clients just as I expect for them to interview me. Are you decisive or are you deliberative? And if there's a pause, I know the answer. And, if you're deliberative in a competitive market, it's great to take time to think about things, but what ultimately happens is decisive people move forward and deliberative people wonder why they didn't get the house. Yeah. So you have to understand your weaknesses and draw on your strengths.
We're here with Tyler McKenzie, managing broker with Windermere. Tyler, we just have about a minute and a half left before we have to go to break. You talk about drawing on your strengths and not being decisive versus maybe being decisive. At some level, I guess you got to either know if you want a house or you don't. And it's difficult for everybody in that position, whether it's in the real estate industry, mm-hmm. mortgage, or whatever it may be, when people aren't able to make a decision.
I think it helps if a buyer can set a threshold for what qualifies as the house they may want. It's the 85% rule. We've heard it before. If the house meets 85% of your criteria, then that's your starting point. If it meets 95%, run, buy it. If it's 75%, then we'll look at another house. But definitely set a threshold for criteria. There is no house that's perfect. You build a house today, a month from today, you're going to want to change it. There is no 100% perfect home. So.
Any quick tips before we go to break on how you would quantify that 85%, 95%? How people can maybe think about a house in those terms?
Write down a list, and especially if it's if there's more than one party doing the shopping. Sometimes it really helps for two people to go into separate rooms, write down their lists, and come back together and see where the commonalities are, and you'd be surprised.
Well, I tell you, we used to teach first-time homebuyer seminars, and we said the same thing. We said, husband or wife or whoever you're buying the house with, each of you guys write out a list. And then once they do that, we said, now, sir, pick yours up, crumple it up, throw it in the garbage, because you're not getting anything you want. Now I hear all men want anyway is a man cave. So, hey, maybe that's people's 95%. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us again. Tyler McKenzie, managing broker with Windermere Real Estate. When we come back, finding the perfect house is great. Knowing it's in the right condition is also great. What happens once you own it? How many people actually know the quality of their house a year, 2 years, 3 years after living in it? Jay Cezanne is going to join us when we come back